Hello, you are listening to Disney Travel Tales, episode number 59. This is a space where you can escape the real world and immerse yourself in someone's recent Disney vacation. I'm Jenny, and today I'm talking with Jeff about his family's Walt Disney World vacation in October. His family of 5 stayed at Disney's Riviera Resort and used Genie Plus on this trip. He has lots of great information that I know will be helpful to you. Never miss a new episode of the podcast by subscribing to it wherever you are listening right now. The rest of this year is going to be fantastic, and I would hate for you to miss a new episode. I'm currently looking ahead to 2023 and needing a few guests for the show. If you are traveling to any Disney park or going on a Disney cruise in January, February, or March, I would love to talk to you. Email me at jenny@trolleylanetravel.com and we can start planning your show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Disney Travel Tales to see pictures of Jeff and his family on their vacation and just to stay up to date with the podcast. Okay, so let's get going. Imagine yourself checking into your dream resort. Mine is the Contemporary, and let's go. So today on the podcast, I am here with Jeff, and Jeff is a listener who reached out to me to come on the show, which is always exciting to me. I love talking to my listeners. So hi, Jeff. How are you?
Hey there. Good to see you. So happy to be here.
Yes, very excited. So why don't we start off with you telling us a little bit about yourself, who you traveled with, and your experience with Disney vacations?
Sure. So my name is Jeff Burke, and I traveled with my family of 5, which is my wife, Kelly, my daughter, Lucy, who is 13, Ella, who is 11, and then my son, Colby, who is 8. And we just had an incredible vacation. I mean, it was really, really fun. I was ready to go right back. Not so with the rest of my family, but I was like, it was great. So yeah, wonderful experience all the way around.
That's so fun. And your kids were at such great ages for Disney.
Yes, for sure. For sure. We had been 8 years ago with my older 2. And it was good. But number one, they don't remember very much, and then secondly, they just can't ride half the stuff there.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a plus this time around, was that they could really get into the rides. Yeah.
So was this y'all's second time visiting Disney World?
As a family, yes. I had been maybe 2 other times as a teenager and a child myself, but this is the second time as a family.
That's awesome. How much fun. Okay, so let's just dive right into your trip. What were y'all's dates of travel?
We flew down. We're in Nashville, Tennessee, and so we flew down on a Saturday, the 8th, and then we took the Sunshine Flyer.
Okay, how was that?
Yeah, it was excellent. I actually got the tip from your show, a few episodes ago, and someone had a good experience with them. So I thought, okay, I'll take a look into it. And it was good. I mean, the fact that they have televisions, running cartoons, my 8-year-old son didn't even notice that it took, 35, 40 minutes to get to our hotel. It was just, after a long travel day, it was a good way to get to where we needed to go. Yeah.
That's awesome. I've really heard great things about Sunshine Flyer.
Yeah, it was good. We had a little hiccup where they showed up at a hotel and nobody was on the on the bus for that hotel. But it's just a little mix-up, I guess, and nobody really. It was not a big deal. Maybe 10 minutes extra or something like that. But overall, it was very, it was easy to get to. They were very clear in their communication with us about where to go in the Orlando airport, which is something that's very helpful when you're trying to juggle so much on the itinerary.
Yes, and the Orlando airport is humongous.
It is, and it's a little confusing. It's got side A, side B, and you're like, which side are we on? Where do we go? Yeah, so we were able to navigate it pretty well.
That's awesome. So what resort did y'all stay at?
We stayed at Riviera.
I'm so excited to hear all about Riviera.
Yes,
So tell
yes.
me about it.
Okay, so you walk in, the first thing you notice is that it smells good. So they've got some sort of scent that just kind of is all through that lobby area and a little bit down the hallways, and then it kind of fades as you get closer to your room. But everyone, the staff was just incredible, so willing to help out. Just waiting for you, asking if you need anything at any time. Always had confidence going to them about anything that we needed. Um, and the hotel itself is just a really beautiful place.
Hmm.
Um, it doesn't have that grand lobby area, but you don't care.
Hmm.
It's just kind of the room situation was so good. We had a one bedroom villa, and it was so you got two rooms. You've got one where the kids can sleep on the pullouts,
Hmm.
and then you've got the extra bedroom where Kelly and I were. A shared uh, bathroom area with the shower and the one sink, and then there was another bathroom area with the bathtub and another sink. And so
Okay.
there was some sharing, and then some kind of on your own, which is really nice to have.
Yeah, that is nice,
Uh,
especially with
and
a bigger size family.
yeah, and plenty of room.
Hmm.
It was great to be able to shut the door and debrief after a day instead of feeling like everybody has to go to bed at the same time or
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
for
But
sure.
one of the coolest things was that I had made a room request and we didn't get the room that I requested, but I was so glad because when we walked out on our patio, we were on the second floor and it was right next to where the Skyliner is, so we could
Uh-huh.
see that happening over there. And I thought first I worried, oh, is this going to be loud? There going to be people coming in and out all night, kind of thing.
Hmm.
Not at all. I think they build those rooms so well. You shut those doors and it is quiet. Um, and then we could see the fireworks the
Oh,
first
that's
night. Yeah,
awesome.
at Epcot. So just right there, we sat on the balcony. We had some dinner from Primo Piatto downstairs, which we ate at probably 10 times over the week, probably, and sat and watched the fireworks the first night. So that was like the perfect way to start, a Disney vacation.
That is magical. I love that.
Yeah,
I love when things sometimes don't turn out the way you think they are, like with your whole room request, but it just worked out the way it was supposed to be.
yeah, it was really, really great.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so we were very comfortable all week long. It felt like a place we could go and just be in the room, and it wasn't cramped. It wasn't, it was a place we wanted to be.
Hmm.
Uh, so the resort grounds are, of course, just really well done and beautiful. And we only got to the pool once, but it was really cool as well.
Hmm.
Um, and then the dining options were very, very helpful for us. Yeah.
That's great. So let's talk about the pull-out beds. Were those like, did your
Yeah.
kids say those were comfortable?
Yeah, the kids loved them.
That's great.
Our son, our 8-year-old, was on the little, twin bed pull out, and he loved having a cubby where he's got a little light,
Hmm.
he can turn on right there, and then it has a little bit of an overhang above you, so it feels cozy,
Hmm.
So he was loving that, and then my girls slept on the big pull out, which is a queen size, and
Oh,
there was plenty of
nice.
room. We kept it out most of the time we were there, just kept the beds out,
Hmm.
pull them up every once in a while just to make some room. But yeah, everything was good. And then the king bed in our bedroom was great.
That's
Yeah,
really nice. Yeah, because people always want to know if those pullouts are actually comfortable. But from my experience, the ones at Disney, they
yeah,
are like real beds.
they are. They are. They're substantial.
Hmm.
Um, they're so substantial that we dropped. One of my daughters dropped her iPod Touch behind, kind of in the little crevice between little cubbies and the headboard,
Uh-huh.
and we couldn't get to it. Like literally, we could not get to it because it's so it's just rock solid back there.
Oh my
And so we
gosh.
had to get maintenance to come out and unscrew some stuff and get the iPod Touch for her. It was hilarious. But again, the hotel staff was so helpful and everything was so easy, that we needed. There's a funny story. Coffee is very important to me.
Uh-huh.
And so I called Disney before we got there, the week before, and I said, all right, we're staying at the Riviera, one-bedroom villa. What kind of coffee maker is in the rooms? Because I'm doing an Instacart order,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to make sure that I order K-cups or ground coffee,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they told me, they looked it up, and they came back and said, they're Keurigs. I said, okay, great. So I put in the order, and I started watching some videos online because I wanted to know a little more about the rooms itself.
Mm-hmm.
And all the coffee makers in the videos are drip. And
Yeah.
I'm going, I'm not sure who to trust here. Did they change it? These videos are from 2022. They're not very
Mm-hmm.
old. So I got both. I got ground coffee and K-cups for my Instacart order. Then I go into the room. It's the drip. And I realize I don't have coffee filters.
Oh no.
So I'm like, oh. So I go to the front desk and I say, do you guys happen to have any coffee filters? And they said, oh man, we've got to take a look. So the worker went back into their offices and found some in some office in the back and put it in a plastic bag, 5 of them for me for the week, and then gave it back. And I go back to the room and I take it out and I'm ready to do the filters. And I realize the basket itself, it is a filter. So I have all this trouble to try to get coffee filters, and there were just no questions asked. The customer's always right kind of thing. They're just helping you out, do what they're asking, and then I realized, oh man, I'm the idiot here. I didn't actually open it up and see if I could just use my ground coffee right there. So,
that is so funny. So that's actually a really great story because a lot of times when you call up to Disney, you're not actually calling Disney. You're calling like a call center. So the people are not there.
Oh, wow. Well, I kind of got the feel that it was a central location somewhere. It wasn't actually at the hotel.
Yeah.
That they're looking up information, based on what you need, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
They were very helpful as far as, responsive and kind and all of that. But obviously it was not the right answer.
But that was smart to watch the videos because I'm pretty sure the standard rooms all have Keurigs, but the suites or the villas, they don't have Keurigs. They have the drip. So
interesting.
That was very smart to watch the video so that you were prepared.
Yeah. You do both and you're prepared for it all.
Yes, absolutely.
I guess. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so so on your travel day, y'all just went to your resort and kind of hung out there?
We did. We had 7-day tickets, and that was not one of the days that we'd made a reservation. So, yeah, we knew we'd get in at 6 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. So just get to the hotel. That was the goal.
Awesome. Okay, so let's move into your first park day. What park did y'all visit?
All right. The Magic Kingdom. And the whole time, I knew it was going to be crowded.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't find parking at the airport in Nashville. And it was like, okay, this is going to be bad.
Yeah.
I'm looking at crowd calendars online, and it was going to be rough the first 2 days especially. There were 9 out of 10 crowds or whatever. So I did my routine, which became very routine throughout the week. I'm obviously the planner, the Disney planner in my family. And so I got up at 6:40 a.m. We're coming from Central Time, so that's 5:40 my time. And just woke up a little bit, and I, sneak out to the little balcony there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of cool to just be sitting there and watching the early bird families, going to a breakfast reservation somewhere or whatever on the Skyliner. And I, open up the app and I'm ready at 6:58. I'm already looking and kind of, ready to go. And in the app, there's the edit selection. So you've got the tip board, right?
Mm-hmm.
The tip board, and it has a little thing where if you've got a reservation for that park that day, it says edit selections, And this is a little tip that I learned, right? You hit that and put only the things that you want to get right then in the morning. If you have one or two things, if you're doing a paid lightning lane, and then like the most valuable Genie Plus one that you want to get as early as you possibly can, and only have those selected there, then they'll pop right up to the top, and then you can refresh at 7 a.m., which I did immediately at 7 a.m. You can see that it's working harder this time, right? And finally will pop up, and then reserve, the one that you want to get. It's probably going to be the first one to go, or one that that's not going to be available in a couple hours. For us, it was Jungle Cruise that day, and I have a little bit of a funny story later about that. But so we reserved Jungle Cruise and didn't do any extra lightning lane stuff because honestly, I was like, the principle here is I'm paying a lot of money to be at Disney World today. I don't think it makes sense to pay an extra $10 per person or however much it was to ride the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, right? Yeah. So that was my first day mentality. Foreshadowing. Then, I've got an hour or so to just hang out until my family wakes up. We decided not to rope drop. This was a strategic decision based on not wanting to stress the family out. So we wanted to be able to sleep. We wanted to be able to take our time getting ready. I have teenagers, pre-nagers, there's a little bit of that going into it. So we just wanted to have some slow mornings. And with Genie Plus, that is very doable. In fact, it's preferable to us.
Yeah.
We found on the trip. So everybody's getting ready. 8:30, 9-ish that day. We just did breakfast in the hotel room, and then we caught the bus over to Magic Kingdom when everybody's ready. It was about 10 o'clock probably by the time we got on the bus.
How was the wait for the bus at the resort?
Oh my goodness, never an issue.
That's awesome.
They would publish the bus schedule. You can see that in your app, and so you can kind of get a feel for when's the next bus coming. How often did it? They don't give you a full schedule. They just say the next bus will be here at this time.
Right.
And so at some point you're like, okay, next bus is 15 minutes. Everybody out the door, and then we'll go over there. And it was always pretty much on time. You could get on the first bus that arrived. It was never an issue.
That's so nice.
Yeah, it is. And Riviera never felt crowded, even though I know it was full because of fall break week for a lot of people. But it never felt crowded, and that included the buses.
That's wonderful, because that is a really big resort.
It is. And I think it has a lot of rooms. But for whatever reason, it never felt that way, even in the common areas.
That's fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah, so we arrived there and went straight to, well, no, we didn't. We took pictures, which we had built in time. I think I had like a 10:30 reservation for Jungle Cruise, so I knew, we've got an hour and a half, really, before we have to be anywhere. So you get that hour window to play with, and we took several pictures, and we had the photo pass, so we could do the Magic Band. They just scan your Magic Band, and then your pictures show up a couple hours later in your app, which is very cool. Most of them were good. Some of them were not, but So after about 30 minutes of taking pictures, we headed over to Jungle Cruise, and had our first Lightning Lane experience, which is, where's the Lightning Lane entrance? You're kind of gauging, looking. Go the wrong way, come back around, okay, and start getting used to that as you go. Like entrances look like this. And then you realize the longer line for a Lightning Lane is the check-in line, right? It's when people are waiting to scan their Magic Bands or their cards or whatever. It's not the actual line itself. It's almost always faster than even the check-in line, which is really nice. So we checked in, got in there. We're like one boat away from getting on, and they shut down the ride.
Oh, no.
Right from the get-go. And we kind of looked at each other, and the kids were like, what? What what are we gonna do? This
Yeah.
little panic. It was so funny. This is our first experience, and it's this panic moment.
Yeah.
And we're going, okay, so either we just stay here and wait until it gets going again, or we just do the next thing, By the time we'd figured out kind of what we wanted to do, we got signals that it was going to start up again. And so it was probably about a 10-minute later, extra.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was fine. Got on there and, had a great time and laughed out loud at several of the jokes. It was a good guy, good experience. So we did that. And then, immediately, once you've used that first reservation, and also at 10:30, I could make a second reservation.
Mm-hmm.
It opened at 8:30, right? So I'm kind of on my phone figuring out what to do next.
Mm-hmm.
I got a Thunder Mountain one next, and so it was for later in the day. We had a little bit of time, so we did things like Tiki Room, Country Bear Jamboree, just the stuff to kind of kill time because our lunch reservation was coming up at 12:30. So those were all cute and nice. And if it's your first day at Disney, your kids are happy with the Tiki Room, right?
100%.
They're just like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
And the Country Bear, which needs updating really, really badly, but it's still there and it's still fun.
Yeah.
So then we went to lunch at the Diamond Horseshoe.
Oh, I've never had someone who's ate there.
Yes, and it's basically Liberty Tree and Diamond Horseshoe are the same. I did not realize that. Or Liberty, it's Liberty Tree, whichever one is Liberty.
Liberty Tavern.
Tavern,
yeah.
That's it. And so they're exactly the same. I actually had a reservation for Liberty on Tuesday, and then I realized, it's the same exact thing.
That's funny.
So it's just two sides of the same kitchen. So food for our family. We have our son, Colby, has a dairy allergy. And, it's anaphylactic. It's severe.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be really careful, which was another draw to Disney as a vacation destination anyway, because they do such a good job. We have friends with allergy kids, and they just raved and raved about how they didn't have to worry all week long. And that was our experience. 100%. So we went in here because it had good reviews from a Facebook group that we're part of, which is Disney Chefs Rock Food Allergies, I think is what it's called.
Oh, that's awesome.
Great resource for anybody who has an allergy in the family and wants to have recommendations on the best places to go. Yeah.
That's great.
So that's why we ended up at this place, because they had good reviews there. So, and it's interesting. We didn't have any idea that you walk in, you sit down. The staff was great. Our waiter was very, very helpful and on it. It was not crowded at all. I mean, the park was very crowded, and this restaurant was not.
That's nice.
So it felt a little bit of breath after fighting the crowds, even just for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And they just bring you stuff. It's a Thanksgiving meal, and they bring you the salad right up front, and then they bring the entree, and it's all shareable, family style. And so you just take what you want, and, and it's 3 courses, I believe. And they did everything separately for my son. They had the little allergy indicator, a little wooden toothpicky thing that they put in to make sure that they know that this was separate and everything is good.
That's so great.
Yeah, it really makes you feel confident. He ate some things. He's pretty picky. But then, the grand finale dessert, he chose this sorbet, and it was 3 large scoops of sorbet, and they just laid it in front of him, and his eyes got big, and he was so happy with that.
That's so
great. The rest
great.
of us enjoyed some kind of a cookie a la mode thing that they had, which was really good as well. So great experience there. was the first of our sit downs,
Mm-hmm.
and we quickly began to realize that some of the best experiences we're having every day are the sit down restaurants, um, because it's just such a great place to rest, to kind of catch up with each other, to
Mm-hmm.
be air conditioning, and just to be taken care of so well.
Yeah.
We did that very well all week long.
So did y'all like
So
the food?
we did. They're different to different degrees,
Uh-huh.
but they give you so many different options that you could choose whatever you wanted and then kind of put it on your plate or try everything and eat more of what you liked, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's
Um,
really nice.
it was,
So like if
yeah,
you do have picky ears, when you look at the menu, if you're like, oh, they'll eat these things, then you're kind of good to go.
right, exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah.
So it was good. It was really good experience. And then, coming out of there, we had a little bit of time. So we decided to do Small World because it's just classic and
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And it's pretty fun when you go on that with kids who are used to, techie,
Yes.
advanced ride experiences. They enjoyed it,
Mm-hmm.
but as we were going through the week and they were starting to get on some of those other kinds of rides, I mean, it really starts to separate
Yeah.
where nostalgia really is the only reason we're going on this ride.
Yeah.
But we had a good time going on it and waited about 25 minutes, I think, for that one at that time, which wasn't bad for a standby line
Mm-mm.
on a very crowded day.
Right.
Then made our way over to Thunder Mountain, which was the highlight of the day. The first roller coaster like the first legitimate roller coaster my 8-year-old son had ridden.
Oh,
Um,
fun.
He'd been on kiddie coasters before, but he'd never been on anything to that size.
Uh-huh.
And we all got off and all loved it. Even got some, pictures of each other on it, kind of thing, wisely or not. But it was really a fun experience for us all to be able to, Kelly and I have ridden it many, many times.
Yeah.
And so to be able to share that with all of them was really good.
That's so great.
So we got the fun after pictures, in front of the coaster. And we quickly began to realize, well, our little 8-year-old that we were worried about whether or not he would want to go on stuff is this little daredevil. He never got scared the entire week, no matter what we did. And we were very surprised.
That's so fun. I love when kids like surprise you that way because then you're like, we can do everything.
Yeah, I was really worried, if I was going to reserve something, well, do I only do it for 3 or 4 of us?
Uh-huh.
Because not everybody's going to want to ride it, and we never had to do that. So it was really a pleasant surprise for us.
That's fun.
Yeah, and he's also funny because he doesn't react big to things. He gets off and he's fine, and he enjoyed it, and you can kind of tell he enjoyed it while he was on it. And what'd you think? And you're like, good. And then move on. What's next?
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so that's kind of how the week went, which is great.
That's fun.
So then we wanted to kind of have a mentality the entire time we were there to take advantage of things that just came across our path. So if somebody wants to look at something and take a little extra time, or we've got a character over here that somebody spots, and we can go and try to interact, that we would just do it. So that kind of happened here, where I had a reservation for the Barnstormer, and it was maybe 45 minutes away, something like that. So ended up just walking towards that from Thunder Mountain and ran into a photographer on the lake right there and got some more pictures. Got one of those little magical pictures, which are fun when they come in. And then the Festival of Fantasy Parade started, passing by. Or we just kind of saw the lines being drawn. They put out all the little rails and the ropes and so forth. And something's going to happen here. So we just hung out for a while and had a good spot right there next to the rope. Watched what seemed to be somebody from the janitorial crew, maybe not, with a broom and some water and those little pickup things. And he was drawing Mickey and
Oh,
Donald Duck in the
cute.
street with water, before
Yeah,
the parade. Like, that's pretty awesome. Trying to take pictures of that, and
that's
then
so
the parade comes
fun.
around the corner. And I'm telling you, my wife became like a grade schooler. I
Yeah.
mean, she was so excited for everything that came across and was having so much fun. And the kids, were feeding off of her energy and getting into it,
Oh, yeah.
and we had such a great time with the parade coming by. So that was a lot of fun, and we I didn't expect parades to be a highlight of the day, but
Hmm.
it certainly was. And they know how to do it, at Disney.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's a fantastic parade if you can see
yeah,
it.
Hey parents, do your kids listen to podcasts? Do they like solving mysteries and flexing their imaginations? Mysteries at Riddleton Elementary is a new children's mystery podcast. Your kid can join Billy Bonanza and Susie Sockington on exciting and wacky adventures as they attempt to solve mysteries around their school. Mysteries at Riddleton Elementary is available now on all podcast platforms.
yeah. I mean, and it has so many of the characters where if you don't see them anywhere else,
Hmm.
you're gonna get from there most likely.
Yeah.
So yeah. Um, and then we went over to Ariel, because we still had some time before Barnstormer. Well, actually, I think Barnstormer was like 4 o'clock, and it was maybe 3. Yeah, so we had about an hour or so.
Hmm.
Um, and that was the longest line we waited in all week long.
That's so
Uh,
interesting because that ride never stops moving.
I know. Well, I think it did. It must have.
It must
At
have,
some point, it
yeah.
must have been without an announcement because at one point we were in the same spot for a good 10 or
Oh,
15
yeah.
minutes.
Then something must have happened.
But there's enough there for the 8-year-old to be climbing around and
Hmm.
watching the crabs move and reading the little screens and whatever. So
Yeah.
it wasn't terrible. He was a little whiny, but not too bad. Waiting in a longer line than usual. So again, nostalgia for us.
Hmm.
Our girls, loved that, and I think they remember that from when they were really small. So it was one of the few that they remembered.
That's sweet.
So it was sweet. Yeah. Um, and then we, did some more pictures, and again, we're just kind of looking around as we're walking. Well, what's over there? And ooh, we can get a shot in front of the grotto, that kind of stuff. And everybody's in a really good spot by this point, and kind of
Hmm.
confident that we're going to be okay, and things are, we're getting to ride stuff, and the crowds are, yeah, not fun to try to navigate, but
Hmm.
not keeping us from having fun.
That's great.
Yeah, and so we waited. It was so funny because when you show up at a place and you have a 4 o'clock reservation and it's 3:50, you're waiting, but it's not in line. So it's a
Hmm.
little better than standing in line. But you're just kind of hanging out. And my son loves to watch things move.
Hmm.
It's just one of his things, and so he was watching the Barnstormer over and over and over and over, and was almost not happy when we said it's time to go and get in line. It's 4 o'clock, and he's like, "I'm having a great time just watching it. It's great."
Yeah.
So, but we got on that in, I mean, 25 seconds. 25.
That's like the fastest ride in the world.
God, I mean, Kelly looked back at me. Most of the time with road coasters, it was, Kelly and one of the kids, and then two of the kids together in front of them, and then I'm kind of in the back, and I'm a 6'6" guy, and so I need the space, right?
Yeah.
So especially on the Barnstormer.
Right.
So, folded in there like a cricket, and she turns back to me and she's like, "That's it? Like, really? We're done?" Yeah, that's it. That's the ride. Oh man. So got off of that, decided to get a little bit of snack, some kind of treat on the way to, I don't even know where we were going next. We're just kind of looking for a snack somewhere. Thought about heading towards the castle and taking some pictures. So we got popsicles. I would not recommend getting popsicles on a hot day. It's just an explosion.
Mm-hmm.
It just melts too quick. It's all over them. It falls off. So my recommendation to anyone listening is get something in a cup, so that it can keep the whole thing and not, have it on the ground.
That's good advice.
So that was not the best, but it was fine. We had wipes. We carried baby wipes wherever we go, even though our youngest child is 8 for that reason.
Yeah, for sure.
So, took some more pictures at the castle and so forth. I think we caught a little bit of a show in front of the castle, just for a little bit. And then we headed to a Haunted Mansion reservation at 8 for like 5:45 or something like that. And we have, great nostalgia for this ride. I rode it when I was, probably 10 years old, and my wife as well. And the kids were excited about it, except for my middle daughter. She was a little bit in question the whole time. Now, when it came to roller coasters and thrill stuff, she was like gung-ho.
Yeah.
But when it came to trying to scare you stuff, she was a little bit like, I don't know. So we're in line, and she's a little bit, kind of timid and looking around, and they let us into the first room, and she's cowering a little bit more.
Yeah.
And, so we're kind of trying to help her out and tell her it's all just fun, kind of scary, whatever. We get on the ride, and we're about a third of the way through, and it stops. And we're in this part where you've got the steps coming down, up, down, the upside down stairs, and candles lighting upside down, and kind of creepy voices and music and so forth, and you're leaning back, right? And so we're trying to check on our Ella, our middle child. Are you okay back there? She's with Kelly, and she's trying to give us some sense of confidence, but I mean, it freaked her out.
Yeah.
So she got off and was not very happy, but we snuggled her and hugged her, and we're like, we're not going to do it again, and we'll avoid these kind of rides, for you. Of course, we want to just be, So, but it was a good experience for the most part for us.
Yeah.
Be on that ride, because it's and they've done a bit more, to kind of update it. It seems to me they've done more with the holograms, and kind of that last scene felt different to me than before. But yeah, so got through the scaredness. And
I love that ride as well. It's my favorite at Magic Kingdom, but none of my kids like it. Every time they're like, why do you make us go on this? It is so creepy. And they're like older teenagers. They still don't like it.
Yeah. I mean, and you realize my memory of it is that it is kind of the fun scary. But then you get on, you're like, unless you really kind of have that perspective going in, it really is kind of scary.
Yeah. I mean, it is.
Popping up, and there's the evil laughs and so forth going on all the time. You're like, okay, well, I guess, maybe it is a little bit intimidating. So we validated her scared experience.
At least she tried it.
Yeah, that's right. Right. So that was the day. We decided to go back to the hotel for dinner, and that was primo again, because it was just so great. And the quick service places are just as good as the sit down places for allergy friendliness. I mean, literally, I skipped the line. They told me, skip the line, go straight to the register, ask for an allergy order. A chef will come from the back. They will take the order personally. And then it comes out in a bag, for to-go orders. It's in a separate bag with an allergy sticker on it. I mean, it's just everything to make you know. It's like somebody who had kids with this issue said, okay, here's how we're going to do this.
Yeah. Like we're going to make this easy for people so they don't have to be stressed.
Yes. And so they're fantastic on a lot of fronts on thinking about what will make you feel taken care of. And this is just another one of those examples. So we ate dinner at the hotel out by the lake, which was nice. We hit those tables several times during the rest of the week, because it was just nice to get it to go and eat out there by the lake. And we were feeling energetic, even though we were tired.
Uh-huh.
So I think it was my wife's idea, and she's like, she texted me first, which is the way we do it. We're like,
Yeah.
But you can't mention it out loud because you don't want the kids to get their hopes up in case somebody, one of the parents doesn't think it's a good idea.
Right.
So she texts me and it's like, spontaneous fireworks at Epcot. And I was like, sure, let's do it. So we hopped on the Skyliner, so easy, again, no lines, especially coming from the resort to the parks. It is a little scary, the Skyliner. I have this weird confidence that things are fine and that the safety is, top notch at a place like Disney. But, for the others in my family, it was a little bit of a like, oh my gosh, we are up in the air and we are suspended by this wire. And it stops frequently.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you're sitting up there and, a little bit of breeze and you're rocking a little bit in the wind and, it was nighttime and they were freaking out a little bit and then it gets going and everything's fine. It's never delayed for more than a minute or usually 30 seconds. So anyway, we got off. What's that?
Well, I was just going to say, my second son, he was so scared of the Skyliner, especially when we stayed at Art of Animation. You have to go over the water. He was like, I don't like this.
Yeah. And it was nighttime, and they kept trying to say, we're over water. We're over water. I'm like, I don't think that's concrete. I think that's a road. We're over water.
Yeah.
This is the worst possible scenario. Yes. It's going to be okay, everybody. So they were all happy to have their feet on the ground at Epcot. And we walked over, the magic bands are so helpful. I know we have to pay for them now, but it was $10 with the rest, because we had the resort reservation to get the lowest end, which is all you need.
Yeah.
I don't think the Magic Band Plus really adds much. But we just did the $10 ones, and it was so helpful. So checked in, got in the park, walked over to a bridge that we thought would be a decent view right there next to France, and just sat for maybe 20 minutes for it to start. And it was really, really cool. I mean, Harmonious is a great show. And they've got the torches all the way around the lake. So it's got this kind of cool feel even before the show begins. And so thoroughly enjoyed that and knew we got a jet. As soon as this thing is done, hop, skip, run over to the Skyliner. Make sure we get in, a decent spot. And we did. It was maybe 5-minute wait getting back. So that was...
Oh, y'all got so lucky.
Yeah. and all week long, we've heard, on the podcast even, hearing stories of it being an hour long to get on the Skyliner, and we never had more than a 10-minute wait.
That's fabulous.
Yeah. Again, with crowds the way they were, I definitely expected it to be worse. Which is why I was so vigilant on not go in too far, because we don't want to be close to the Skyliner when this thing's done.
Yep.
So that was good. So that was a big spontaneous thing, and came home and got him in bed as quickly as possible and got ready for the next day.
That's so fun that y'all did that. Like, I love moments like that. I love hearing about them. That's so cool.
Yeah. And you can really find a pretty good spot anywhere. There's, even if you're late, I mean, some people start showing up and, sitting in places an hour ahead of time. But for Epcot, I feel like you can get there in the last 15 minutes and still find a pretty good spot to stand.
Because there's so much space.
Yeah, it's all the way around the lake, and the show is in the middle, so you're not going to miss anything from any of those spots.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
All right, so let's move into day 2.
Day 2, everybody slept really well, and we had an 11:05 reservation for a Trattoria El Forno. I booked this at first thinking it was a character meal, 2 months ago. Found out it wasn't. And decided to keep it. And I'm so glad that I kept it. That was our favorite brunch. It was a brunch experience. The favorite sit-down eating experience of the whole week.
That's awesome.
Rode the Skyliner over, 10:30ish and walked over to the boardwalk. Of course, this is after my 7 a.m. wake up and, getting the reservations. We got Remy's for Epcot. So walked over to the boardwalk and just really, it was not full at all. The restaurant had plenty of space and felt like, another place to breathe. There were lots of moments of that where you kind of need those respites where it's not fighting crowds, and that was one of them. And the boardwalk itself was just a really pretty little spot.
Yeah.
We didn't spend a lot of time there, but we did a little bit of exploring. And one of my son's friends was also there, and they were staying at the boardwalk. And
that's cool.
they were arriving that day, and we were texting back and forth, and they actually found us at the restaurant. We're looking for us, and Kelly looked out the window and was like, "There they are!" She just jumped up and ran at them. And so we got to see them for a little bit, which is really fun.
That is fun.
And then we, just walked over to Epcot, which again is kind of a fun thing to be able to do. Just walk into the park. It was hot. So this day was, the first day was maybe a high of 86 or so. The second day got up to about 91.
Oh.
So we started to feel that. But the cool thing about it was I had 3 lightning lanes booked before we even got to lunch.
That's great.
So I had Remy's, Soarin', and Seas with Nemo, which I just booked because it was closer to our time getting into it. It would be the first thing that we would do. Epcot is large. Especially when you can't go through the middle with the construction. So when you get into the future world and you have to choose a side, and sometimes, I did my best with maps. I'm usually pretty good with it, but occasionally we would kind of choose the wrong way.
Yeah, it's really confusing.
And you're like, man, if we had any extra steps to this day, we'd be falling over.
Yeah.
But we got to Nemo, and that was fine. Got a little seasick there in the crush part. Those bubbles get you a little bit. The adults anyway.
Yep.
And then the aquarium, which the first time we went 8 years ago, we went on the ride. We even did Turtle Talk, but we never really spent any time in the aquarium. It's like I didn't even know it was there. And my son is the biggest aquarium fan. And so he was, you go to the last part of Nemo and you start seeing you've got a real dolphin, and you've got a real shark, and you're going, wait a second. And we get out and he's like, where are they? So we go out and find this it's a big place where you can just go and watch the dolphins and the sharks and the rays and everything else. And he could stay there all day long. He could have. He did not want to leave.
Yeah.
We had a reservation for Soarin' coming up, and he was like, I just want to be here. So we, managed to convince him that Soarin' would be fun. And went over there. And this was, day 2 and another breakdown while we were on the lightning lane. So they gave us a pass to come back at any other point in the day just use the lightning lane. And then you could use it for any of them. Any of the rides except for, I think, Remy's, Test Track, Guardians. And so we, wanted to do Soarin', so we knew it would come back at some point, which made it really nice to have that flexibility to be like, okay, the next dead period we have, we're just going to come over here and do Soarin'. Do it anytime.
That's awesome.
So that was it made it palatable to have a bad experience of not being able to get on immediately. Then we walked all the way to Remy's. Okay, this is where we're going. Okay, lightning lane reservations are amazing, but if you have one at the front of the park and one at the back of the park, and then the next one's back at the front of the park, you're going to be doing some serious walking. So we wore ourselves out a bit, and we, finally got to Remy's, and we were all just a sweaty mess because it was so hot. But the ride just made it all better because it was awesome. Loved it. We all were just kind of blown away by the technology of it.
Oh, it's so great, isn't it?
From the get-go. I mean, you walk into where you're about to get on and you realize all these mice are moving independently. All these little 4-person mice vehicles are just doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening here? How is this working? So, our minds are, how is this working? And the kids are just like, this is amazing. So that was a really, really fun ride. We all loved it. And we all loved, I had to kind of, the kids never did this where they were looking at the standby line and out loud said, I'm so glad we don't have to wait, but we all felt it and were saying it to each other.
Yeah.
Because it was 120 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And that was such a time saver, 10 minutes to get on and off. So little tip that I was learning as I was going through doing the lightning lanes is I would set my alarm for a minute before the next time I could reserve something. So once you reserve something, you refresh and you see on the tip board the next time that you can book something. So that time, depending on when you're reserving it, sometimes it's kind of at that 2-hour interval because you're doing it before you're actually in the park. Other times it's based on the actual time that you reserved something after you rode something else. So I've got all these alarms on my phone, just 1 minute before the time to actually book a reservation. And I realized that I was getting frustrated a couple of times because it would be the time to reserve something. And this was usually on the times when it was, 10:57 or 2:20 or something like that. And I couldn't book it at 2:20. They are down to the second at Disney. So if you book something at 12:20 and 45 seconds, you can't book again until 2:20 and 45 seconds, right? So it's not that it's not working. There's no, glitches going on. It's just you literally have to wait until the end of the minute to make your reservation. Okay, this is.
It's pretty crazy, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I'm a data guy. So just to the sheer infrastructure that goes into an app that connects to the little Mickey Mouse guys that you check in with at each ride, that connects to your Magic Band, and that circle is never broken. Somehow it always worked all week long. Yeah. And your hotel room. It's like, wow, it's very, very impressive. Yeah. The technology they've got going on there.
It is pretty crazy.
Yeah. So after that, we did Spaceship Earth, which, again, we're walking, right? So you can't just walk straight to Spaceship Earth anymore. You've got to go around the construction, kind of in the back. So we did that, and I love it. I really love that ride, and it's complete nostalgia. And everyone else was like, that was fun. Or that needs to be updated, or, those sorts of comments coming out, which was fine.
Yeah, it is. So. I love it too, but it does need a little bit of an update, but I still love it.
Yeah, I mean, my son was coming up with all kinds of ideas of what should go in there now. They just need to rip it out and put in, choice A, choice B, whatever. He's all kinds of ideas. Yeah. They should make it a Mickey Mouse thing. They should put ears on the Epcot ball. That would be so cool.
Oh my gosh.
So we did that, and then we did Turtle Talk, which it's so cool. It's great. It's it's overlooked, I think. But it's kind of the same concept as Monsters Laugh Floor, right? But we like Turtle Talk better than Monsters. It's more intimate. You're in there with, maybe 100 people at the most, and Crush is just talking to you, literally. And you can't really tell what's pre-recorded and what's live, and they've got new characters in there with Hank showing up and, things like that. So don't want to spoil. I shouldn't have spoiled. But, but it was really, really cute and fun for everybody. So then we did Soarin' because we had a little break before we were going to do Guardians, which, by the way, We did. I missed the reservation in the morning for it to get in the virtual queue.
Mm-hmm.
So you have an opportunity at the resorts. If you stay at the resort, you can do a 7 o'clock virtual queue. Try to. I made the mistake of getting Remy's first,
Mm-hmm.
and then trying to get the reservation for Guardians, and it wasn't available. So we were in the park, and I had my alarm set for 12:59 because you can do a 1 o'clock, another try at 1 o'clock, right? There were also extended magic hours that night at Epcot from 9 to 11 p.m. And so we had another shot if we wanted it, if we needed it. But at 1 o'clock, I was able to get one, and it was going to board at like 7, I think, was the estimated time, or 8 o'clock, or something like that at night. So we knew we had some time before that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did Soarin', which everyone loved. So fun, just a great, technological and, fun experience.
Mm-hmm.
You always knew coming off of a ride like that me and my daughter have the same eyes. For whatever reason, we water. When we're inside and there's wind blowing, I mean, we come out crying.
Yeah.
We were like, yeah, it was amazing. And we're all wiping and trying to get our eyes clear. It's just part of the experience, I guess, for us. I don't know why like that the other three or not, but that's the way it was.
Yep.
And then we tried to find some dinner, and we were just trying to do something quick service at this point. So I checked into the allergy group, and was kind of looking around for some good options at Epcot, and the Yorkshire fish chips place is dairy free. I'm like,
nice.
Really? Battered fish, dairy free, really? Yeah, they were. And a cool thing about the quick service menus is that when you look at them, you can see that there are these green leaves next to certain things, and those are vegan. And then there's another one that's another little icon, and I'm trying to remember exactly what it means. It might have something to do with the allergies, but we always knew a vegan thing was fine because he's dairy allergy, right?
Yeah.
So that helped us out. To you're passing by somewhere, do they have any options? Oh, look, they do. There's green leaves up there. We can go there.
That's really nice.
That's very helpful. But we ended up there, and that was great. Like, really enjoyed that. Sat right next to the lake and ate. Found a table down there. There was maybe rain coming, so we're trying to find somewhere we could ride that out. Never did actually rain. It was forecasted every day, 50 to 60%. Never rained.
Oh my gosh, y'all got so lucky.
So lucky. And it felt like it was raining, over there, and over there, and over there, but it just never actually landed on us.
Oh my gosh,
felt
that's
a few
so
sprinkles here and there, but that was it.
So nice.
We had the ponchos in the bag, ready to go,
Yeah.
but never had to use them. Then we did Guardians. Again, Yorkshire Fish Shop is in England. Guardians is at the very front of the park. Walk.
Yeah.
This time it's cooling off. It's 5:30, 6. No, it's about 6:30 because we had 7 o'clock virtual queue. When we finally got called around, that time. So we went in, and it was pretty quick for a virtual queue.
Nice.
Sometimes you can wait pretty long in those, but maybe 20, 25 minutes. And it's very fun. Just the environment is fun.
Yeah.
So you don't mind waiting. There's a lot to look at. These intricate models and, lots of video kind of getting you ready for the ride. And 3-story type stuff. I'm not a Marvel guy, but my daughter is most definitely a Marvel girl. My 13-year-old, and she just was loving every piece of that. And, then you arrive and you can see what you're riding on. And you realize, the kids are kind of realizing this is legit, roller coastery, right? I'm thinking it's going to be more like a Universal type thing where you're doing kind of video screens for, moving through and turning Transformer-ish or something like that, right? No. I mean, I don't want to ruin it, so I'm not going to, but it is the best way I can describe it. It's like having a party at night on a roller coaster.
That's a great description.
I mean, it was really great. And we all came out just ready to ride it again. Of course we could, but
I know that's the bad thing is unless you get in the queue and buy the lightning lane, you can only ride it once. Oh.
On one day. So,
or if you have extended hours, you can ride it again. But yeah.
That's right. Exactly. We could have done the extended hours, but I mean, we were so exhausted, right? So it's kind of reading the kids and going, I don't think extended hours is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was missing out, not taking advantage of that because it was the only one all week. But it's like, you know what? I think it's better for us to just call it a day and let these kids get some sleep. And so we did that. We got some good pictures in front of Guardians, and so those are some of our favorites of the whole trip were those pictures because we were all just so, exhilarated by the experience. And then, got on the Skyliner again. Not bad. No lines. Headed home to the hotel.
Yeah, home for the week.
Yeah. Which, they make it a point to call it home, which is fun. We did do some shopping on the way out, for our family. So that was good. But yeah, that was day 2.
That's so fun. And just on a side note, y'all did not miss out on the Epcot extended hours because I did that when I went in September, and all the food and drink shuts down everything.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I went because I wanted to ride Guardians again, and I wanted to ride Soarin'. Those are like my 2 goals. Those are the only 2 rides I got to ride the whole time I was there.
I believe it. I was looking at the lines. We were leaving right at about 9 o'clock, right before the show, the Harmonious show. We didn't decide to stay for it, or did we? I'm trying to remember. No, we didn't. That night we didn't stay for the show. We just went on home because they were getting, really tired.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the lines on the app, and they were still, Frozen was still upwards of 45, 50 minutes. And I'm going, that's going to take half of the extended hours, right? And then,
it was awful.
Yeah.
And everyone was at Guardian, so I think I waited an hour to get on the ride. And I got there like at 9:30. So then I had like no time left. So then I go over to Soarin'. And I ride Soarin', and by the time I got off that, it was like, and not all the rides are open.
Right.
It's just
and
weird.
There's not a whole lot of rides.
No, and they're, like you said, they're all over. So I would have been like running around. I was like, I'm just leaving.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But the food and drink was the weirdest thing.
Right, because you would expect that to be the biggest part of being able to be there. Like, it's to be able to do that without those lines. Yeah.
It was awful.
Well, there you go. I'm glad to know we didn't miss out.
So you did not.
We also didn't do any of the early, entry because that's just not how we were going to do the vacation.
Yeah.
And so, I did feel like, man, we're just not taking advantage of this. But pretty soon, I was like, man, our experience has been great. 2 days in, we're like, we're having a great time. We don't need to push ourselves, right?
Well, and y'all were there for a long time. I think it's different when you have a short trip.
That's right.
So,
That's right. So then the magic disappeared. This is day 3. All right. I have heard the advice of people who say, do 2 days in the park and then take a day off.
Mm-hmm.
And as a planner, when you're trying to really get everything in, I just didn't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I should have heeded the advice because day 3, it was like the kids were melting. And it was still 91 degrees.
Yep.
We went back to Magic Kingdom because it was the lowest of the crowd. On the crowd calendar, it was a 6 o'clock Halloween party day. And so during the day, it's not as many people in the park. Didn't really feel like it was that much less crowded. We ended up doing, this was where I was like, okay, 3rd day here, waking up at 6:40. I checked in with Kelly and explained the purchasing a lightning lane thing. I'm like, okay, here's your choice. I'm talking to myself. Here's our choice. Either we wait 2 hours to ride this thing, or we don't ride it at all. That's an option.
Mm-hmm.
Or we pay. That's it. Or you get there at 8 o'clock in the morning and you run. I knew that wasn't going to happen with our setup. So I said, okay, we're doing pretty good on our budget. I'm making the case. I know that this principal is like, it feels like they're really, getting you. But would you be cool with us going ahead and just purchasing this so that we can ride this ride? And she was like, I'm just going to close my eyes and cover my ears. And you just do.
Just do whatever
you think we'll make for a good day. So I was like, okay. So then you've got two things to do in the morning, right? You've got the lightning lane to purchase, and you've got the one to reserve for whatever ride you want to reserve later in the day, right? So I ended up doing Peter Pan, and I knew by experiencing the first couple of days, you want to go ahead and purchase first.
Yeah. And
then reserve your free or your Genie Plus, normal lightning lane, right? So purchased the Seven Dwarfs for later in the afternoon, and then did Peter Pan was still like at 10:30 or 11 o'clock or something like that, right? It wasn't that late in the day. And I did use the touring plans. I got a subscription to that, and they have some really good blogs about which rides run out the fastest based on crowd expectation. So I was using those every day, going, okay, if we want to do this one, then we need to reserve it first. So that was very helpful. But, we got there and we rode. We did some shopping. Bus situation was good again. Did some shopping, got some Mickey ears for the girls, But by this time, you're starting to feel a little left out, right?
Yeah.
Everybody in the park's got their bling on, and you're going, oh, we need something.
Yeah.
So did some basic shopping there. And then headed over to Peter Pan. Again, please don't wait 80 minutes in line for that ride. Please don't do it. Only ride it if you've got a lightning lane. It is not. It's fine. It's nostalgic. But there's nothing, it's going to wow you about that ride or, have this unbelievable experience on the Peter Pan ride. It's just not a thing. So we got off and we kind of shook our heads. Like, really?
Yeah, I don't. And it always. So I don't understand why it always has a long wait because it never stops.
Right.
And I don't understand why people wait so long for it. I think maybe they don't know what to expect. I don't know. Like, I would never wait longer than maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Because if you have if you have a lightning lane, it's a walk-on.
Yeah, exactly. But there was, I guess the idea of flying, just you're flying above London or whatever. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the draw.
I don't know.
I expected it to be updated. I really did. The only thing that was updated about it was the actual boat you were flying in.
Yes.
Everything else was exactly the same as it was 30 years ago.
Yes.
So, okay. Right. So then we went over to Monsters Laugh Floor, which was pretty good. I remember it being fun when we did it before. And, I think we did it after Crush this time, and it didn't live up for us. So it's a little bit of okay. Then we went to lunch at Tony's, and all of us at this point were already cranky. We're hot, we're tired, our feet hurt. Day 3 in the parks, still going strong. We're trying to. And we get to lunch at Tony's, and it is one of the more busy ones that we've been to. So that was the only place that I felt like the staff was stressed, because they probably actually were. They couldn't quite keep the Disney face on. Through the stress of that day. And it was right in the thick of lunchtime. A 12:15 reservation or something like that. But it was still good. I mean, they still took their time. They still were attentive. So definitely not a knock at all on the restaurant. It was just, crazy Main Street, right?
Yeah.
In the middle of the day, fall break. So, but good experience with food, allergies, all of that. And then we headed over to Seven Dwarves. Again, I think I was a little bit disappointed. Everybody loved it. The rest of my party loved it. But we were tired. It is cool how they blend the roller coaster and the animatronics experience. The animatronics are very good. But it just, from a roller coaster standpoint, I think that's where I was like, okay, it was fine.
Yeah.
You know, Thunder Mountain's above in my view.
Really short.
Yeah, I mean it's short as a coaster. Yes. I think I looked somewhere and it was like 10 seconds shorter than Thunder Mountain, but it feels shorter because the actual coaster part is only
really short. Yeah,
50 seconds long, right? It's twice that of Barnstormer.
Yeah.
And the rest of it is you're going through slowly and seeing animatronics and so forth. Yeah, so yeah, I agree. It definitely feels that way because you're not, and you feel like that maybe it doesn't need to be billed as a roller coaster as much. You know, it's like this is a whole experience, and that's what you're getting. And
a tip is to ride it at night. It's better at night.
Okay.
Way better at night. I don't know why, but it just is.
All right. Well, there you go. We rode in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we rode in the middle of the day because we were done.
Yeah.
I mean, just that. I feel like we were just about, finished. And we did a few more things, did a little more shopping. While we were shopping at the Christmas store, the parade came by. So we went out for that. And that was the best part of the day. Not because of the parade, even though it was great again, but during the parade, there was this Wendy was in the street and she was, doing her thing. And there was a little girl we could see straight across, maybe 3 years old, who also had a little Wendy outfit on. And Wendy saw her and went straight to her and knelt down and gave her a hug, and we're like tearing up. Yeah. We're like, oh my God, that's so beautiful.
That's so sweet.
So just to kind of witness that and the care that the people who are acting as the characters have for, making these things happen intentionally. It's really, really cool.
So sweet.
Yeah. Then we got some Dole Whips at Aloha Isle, which were safe for my son, which is great. Nice. Again, very, very helpful. Asked the person at the front, and she was like, absolutely. And these are the ones that he can get, and these are the ones that he can't. And then Aladdin and Jasmine showed up at their little meet and greet spot right across the way. So we got in line for that and did that, and that was great. Oh, I missed the Wicked Stepsisters. We were just walking through a pathway somewhere where it looked like it went trying to go without the crowds, and we stumbled upon the Stepsisters. Oh, well, guess we'll stand in this line. It's only 5 people long. And they were hilarious.
They're so funny.
They were really funny, and we got some good pictures with them and a little bit of video, and so that was a lot of fun. Our favorite part of that was when we were walking away, and we were like, thank you so much. That was really great. Thank you. And then she goes, your pleasure. It's just perfect. So then we did Aladdin and Jasmine, which again was another fun meet. And I'm not, I was even voicing this in the line to my wife. I'm like, I'm just not a character Greek guy. I want to do the fun experience, the ride, whatever. But the kids just love it. And even the older ones, they're 13, 11. I'm thinking, they're not going to be in the character. No, they were. They were into it. So we waited a bit, 20 minutes for that, but it was good, worth the pictures and so forth. Then we rode the magic carpets because they were right there and the line wasn't that long. And then went to Splash Mountain, had a reservation there. And my son, for whatever reason, will not ride a water ride in his clothes. So he's wearing normal clothes. It's like it is against the law for him to get wet. Like, where did this come from? And we're still trying to figure it out. And we're asking him. He's just like, he doesn't understand why we don't get it. I just don't want to get wet. But you love the pool. You love water parks. You love, all this.
Mm-hmm.
You just not want to get wet.
That's so funny. And your clothes will dry really fast, especially when it's 91 in Florida.
Yeah, right. And the humidity is, not as bad as it is in the summer. So, yeah. But for whatever reason, we just didn't want to do it. So I took the girls and Kelly stayed with him. She was happy to at that point. She was very tired. And so we did that last thing and it was fun, but we were done. So finished that up, went back to the hotel, ate at Primo by the lake again. So
that sounds so nice though.
Yeah, it was the day where we all looked at each other, and Kelly and I especially looked at each other and just said, this was too much. Mm-hmm. It was too much. At different times we all started, or some of us would feel lightheaded or, just things were going wrong. Like our bodies were telling us we are not, we need rest. We need to rest. So at that point, that night, I said, okay, we have lunch reservations for Hollywood Studios, for Epcot, the next 2 days, and we're going to pivot. So I looked for dinner reservations, and I was able to find some for those 2 days, either moving the one we currently had or finding a new one that was a good spot, and canceled the lunch. And we decided we're not going to go to the parks until 3 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Next 2 days. We're just going to chill in the mornings. So this was while we were kind of hanging out at the pool that night and playing the next couple of days. And it really worked. I honestly, if I were to do it again, I would do most days that way with Genie Plus.
Yeah.
Because by the time you get to the park, you've got 3 or 4 reservations ready to go, depending on if you're doing a paid by anyone or not. And you're just going from one to another. You do 2 or 3 rides, and then you do dinner, and then you do 2 or 3 more, and you're done. And that's all you really need to do. Yeah. It's about 6 hours, 3 to 9 o'clock in the park. And you don't feel like you're in the heat of the day, because 3 o'clock soon starts to get cooler. And, you're not walking, feels like you're not walking as much because you're not at your dead time. So that was, I was glad to kind of stumble onto, that way of doing the parks over the next couple of days.
And it really helps when you have older kids too, because like my kids they would rather sleep in and stay up later at the parks. And especially because we notice the parks are not as busy in the evening or at night than they are in the middle of the day.
That's
the middle of the day is the worst time.
It is the worst time. And, the rope droppers, they do get a benefit for maybe an hour or so, I would say. But I feel like you're still kind of it is cooler, but it's getting warmer. Mm-hmm. In the evening, it just feels good. Even if it's 9 degrees in the day, it feels great in the evening there. Yeah. And so, I agree that was working better for us. Even with our 8-year-old, he was staying up later, but he was sleeping, pretty well into the morning. And so we didn't feel like we were, compromising his sleep schedule or whatever too badly. Mm-hmm. However, so we get to Hollywood Studios, and we really just bummed out at the hotel. We didn't go to the pool or anything. We just hung out. We've got a cool book on the table about Disney employees throughout the day, and I'm reading through that and going, this is, very interesting, fascinating stuff. Taking time with our coffee, getting lunch from Primo, like I said, like 10 times to that place. And then getting there 3-ish, I booked Rise of the Resistance in the morning. And that was our first one to go to, and then I booked Slinky. So those were 3 and 3:45, I think. Mm-hmm. So we get there, and all week long, my son had a cough. And we thought it was, just left over from something he'd had the week before. He had kind of a cold the week before we got to Disney, and he'd been coughing some. But it felt like on this day, the cough was going the wrong direction. Mm-hmm. And he even looked up at me. As we were walking into Hollywood Studios, he looked up at me and was like, Dad, I feel like my cough is making me feel bad or something like that, just expressing, I don't know if I'm okay.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay. So, I mean, the stress level of what do we do with a kid who's not feeling well goes up pretty quick.
Yes.
But we walked over to Rise. We actually went to Slinky because I thought it was first. And then we're like, ooh, that's not a green. Your reservation is in, such and such.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. All right. Oh, all right. Walk back there, briefly experience the Galaxy's Edge world, which the coolest part about it for me is that number one, they don't play music.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going from this Toy Story, you got a friend in me, and then you walk into this kind of like, it just got quiet, and you're hearing these interesting sounds coming out of the forest or whatever, and you're like, it's trying to take you to another place, and it does feel that way. So that was really cool. And Rise was just unbelievable. You go in with high expectations. I did, because I kind of knew this is the flagship ride.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of my family, their expectations were not that, because they haven't been reading all the blogs I've been reading for the last year. And they were just blown away. But again, the whole time, we're just kind of watching my 8-year-old going, he's coughing. I'm like, it's one of those things where you're like a little bit embarrassed because you're like, oh gosh, I have a coughing kid on the transport.
Yes.
Closed space, cough on me kid, that kind of stuff. So we decided after Rise and, kind of debrief that amazing experience together. And then we're like, I think he needs to go back to the hotel. So we did our dinner reservation, which was at 50's prime time. So fun. Just we had a very snarky waiter, and he was awesome.
That's fun. I love that.
The girls talked about that, the rest of the trip. But our son was basically a zombie there. I mean, that's when we really knew. We're like, you're not getting better with food. You're not. I mean, it's just So my wife went back with him, and then I did the rest of the rides and stuff that night with the girls, which was Slinky Dog, Mickey and Minnie's. Loved both of those in their different ways, And my girls know the show, the Mickey show, the new shows. They've watched all of that with my son, he's the biggest fan, and so we were sad that he wasn't there with us.
Yeah, that's hard.
For both of those were, right up his alley, Slinky Dog and Mickey's. And then we did the Frozen sing-along, which was great.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that. It was the best kind of, it wasn't the best show experience we went to, but one of the best for sure. And then I got a reservation. And as I was in Frozen, all the reservations for Rock and Roller Coaster were done for the day, right? But I did the refresh thing. So every 5 minutes in the middle of Frozen, I'm like looking down, refresh. Ooh, one of them showed up. Somebody canceled. So I got one right before the park closed, and that was fantastic. So we were able to do that. They loved that. It's so much fun. It's almost to the Guardians level, for them. Pretty fun. Even maybe one of my daughters liked it better. And then we'd already had a Millennium Falcon for soon after that reservation, so we walked back there and did that. I got sick on that.
Yeah.
I mean, the coolest part about that ride is the queue. The pre-show is, fun or whatever, but then you get in there and you're actually doing the thing. And I was flying right and left. My daughter was flying up and down. And wow. They can improve on this ride. They can definitely improve on it. And I think it's very simple, the things they could do to make it better. And one of the things is, when you're piloting and when you're not.
Yes.
So that's part of it. So I didn't love it. The kids liked it well enough because they're not as sensitive to the motion stuff. And then it's nighttime at Galaxy's Edge, right? So we were just walking around, taking some dark pictures as we could, and so forth, and enjoying just being in that environment for a little while.
Yeah, it's
and then
so pretty at night.
Yeah, yeah.
So pretty.
And then went to Toy Story Mania before we left the park because we were able to get one more reservation for that,
Nice.
which I loved.
Yeah.
Really, really enjoyed it. I thought I didn't have the right thing in mind for that ride as far as what I thought it was. It's different than what I thought it was, and it's great. So,
It's so fun. It's such a great family ride.
yeah, exactly. Well, the competition, aspect is great. And then we stayed for the little movie show at the end because they don't do Fantasmic right now, but they, had the movie show broadcast on the Chinese theater there, and grabbed some ice cream. This is one of the saddest moments was when my daughter was licking the top of her Mickey bar and the entire thing just onto the ground. I mean, so it happens. So
it happens.
I'm like, anything on a stick, just avoid. Get your cups, get your bags. Make sure you can hold the stuff.
Yes, that's so sad.
Yeah. So I'm trying to clean that up so it's not trampled on, and everybody's leaving, and anyway. So we finished up that night, and the movie show we only stayed for the first half of it, and it was fine. It wasn't anything to run home about. Yeah. So the next day, my son was still sick, not feeling great, lots of coughing. So I stayed with him, and I made reservations for my wife and the girls to do Epcot stuff. So we got I got Guardians for them in the morning, and I knew, okay, do that one first, then do the other one, and then we did Frozen. I did Frozen for them, and this is one of those times where we were planning on not getting there till 3, right? And if you're not planning to get to the park at 3, a lot of the Lightning Lane reservations are not going to be for that late until later in the day. And so I just had to kind of wait until the reservations caught up. So Frozen caught up in about 15 minutes. I got booked out in about 7:15, and it was a 3:30 reservation or something. And then throughout the day, I'm just making them more reservations as I'm going. Setting my timer, doing all the things, and there were several times where I needed to wait, for the next one. Say, okay, now that one will work for kind of the touring plan that I'm putting together. And then they went, on their own, and we're trying to navigate the parks without the Disney guy. So it was a little bit funny.
Was there a lot of texting and calling?
No, they really didn't do that. They literally were just, we were just checking in throughout the day, but it wasn't for that kind of a thing. It was, a little bit, I was trying to make sure that we had the San Angel Inn, I think, or Angel, the reservations there for dinner. So I was trying to make sure they knew it wasn't the one by the lake, but it's the one in the pyramid thing. And, that kind of thing, just kind of guiding them through as they were going. But my daughter, my 13-year-old, tried her hand at, being the map person. So we got the app on her phone, and she knows the schedule, and I showed them all how to kind of know what's coming next and so forth. And so they did a good job with all of that until the very end. There was one point where they went the wrong direction, and it cost them 20 or 30 minutes of just trying to figure out what was going on and so forth. So, but the parks are kind of hard to navigate.
Yeah, especially Epcot.
Yeah, in construction zones, and when you're looking at the app, you're trying to find a reference point to see which direction you're actually looking before you can start walking, right? Because it's just a circle, and kind of gauge where you are. But they did a pretty good job, and they got to the reservations and stuff all on time, and were able to do everything, and Frozen, they all came out a little bit underwhelmed by. But they did it, I wanted to make sure that they experienced that. And then, but we didn't feel like we needed to take my son back. That was the plus of that, right?
Yeah, that's kind of nice.
Yeah, so don't need to worry about reserving that one anymore. And then they loved the dinner. That was such a cool environment, they said, in there, and we're sending pictures, and you feel like it's an outdoor, indoor kind of thing. So they really, really liked it, and they wanted to take me there, wanted to take me back, but we didn't have any more days in Epcot. And then at night, they did Guardians again, which again, they loved it. And I was at the hotel with my son, and we were watching Mickey shorts, and just kind of resting.
Mm-hmm.
And then at one point, he wanted to go on an animal scavenger hunt around the Riviera. So he got this little paper, and he was like, I'm going to draw and write down everything that we see, down to like gnats and like dragonflies and such. And so we were looking for all the animals around. It was a very sweet kind of thing that he initiated.
Yeah.
Which also told me he's starting to feel a little better,
right.
And I really wanted him to feel better for the next day. Because
Mm-hmm.
Animal Kingdom, he is the biggest animal kid. He's a dinosaur kid. And so dinosaurs, animals, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really grateful that he started feeling better.
That's great.
At night. And we were tired of being apart. It had been a day and a half of being apart in the parks, and it's just not as fun.
Yeah.
We like to be together.
For sure.
So we were ready to tackle Animal Kingdom in the morning. Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad he started feeling better. And I also love this travel tale for that part, that your kid got sick at Disney. This happens all the time.
All the time.
People don't talk about it. People don't realize it. But I talked to someone, her husband got a stomach flu while we were there, or while they were there. And it just happens. It's very real.
Yeah, it is. And I remember that episode. And it was my greatest fear.
Yeah.
I'm the weeks beforehand, before any of these kinds of trips, like, wash your hands.
Yes.
Don't put your hands in your mouth. Please just, we cannot get sick before we go. And thankfully nobody was. Kind of the remnants of sickness, but it wasn't sick. And then we kind of found out the friend that we saw at Trattoria, one of their sons also got a cough down there. And then we went and got cough drops at the store, the little store in the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, they have that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
just real
they
basic
do.
stuff. So we got some cough drops for him, and the person at the register said, yep, allergies have been, especially since Hurricane Ian, have been through the roof in Florida. So we're going, maybe this was allergies the whole time. He's just coughing his head off based on reacting to whatever's in the air.
Right.
So, it was a little bit reassuring. He never had a fever, and so we felt like, okay, well, if we can just kind of manage this, give him some Zyrtec, whatever, maybe he's going to be good the rest of the trip.
Right.
Honestly, when you have 7 days in the park, which I know it's a real privilege to be able to just do that, right? Mm-hmm. But I highly recommend it, because you don't feel like something like that is going to throw your vacation for a loop.
Yes.
You actually you're like, okay, it's really actually kind of nice to sit in the hotel room, and to have more rest time in the middle of a lot of park days. So, so that was kind of the takeaway for us. But when we got to, Animal Kingdom the final day, we're all feeling good. We're all excited. We did do an earlier day that day because it was only open until, I think it was 8 o'clock or something.
Mm-hmm.
And we just, knew that Colby would really want to see everything.
Yeah.
And he was so cute. We have a picture of him on the bus with his little hat on, and he's got his journal and his pencil. And he's ready to write down every animal we see at the Animal Kingdom.
Oh, I love it.
And he's so excited. So we got there, and something really cool happened. This day kind of set up during the week. My parents have a friend who is the parent of somebody I went to college with.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a fantastic tenor voice, right? And he just happened to be Crush in the Finding Nemo show.
What?
So
that's
yeah,
awesome.
so they texted, like my mom texted his mom, who then texted him and said, hey, these, Jeff and his family are in the parks. And he remembered me. And so I got his number and we're texting back and forth. And he's like, you guys come to one of the shows on Friday. Tell me which one you're coming to. I'll make you an invited guest. And then afterwards, you can come and get some pictures with the cast. And I was
How cool.
okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so great. So we, gave enough time to do some animal stuff before we got there.
Mm-hmm.
Got there about 6 o'clock, and then we went to Finding Nemo at 10:30. And, you're going in going, I don't know how this is going to work, but I know what to say.
Yeah.
So went to the person and said, we're invited guests. And they were like, oh, what's the name? I told them our name, and they shuffled us right into this door, and said, walk straight down right to the front. And they've got this little reserve section, and, we're able to sit right there. I mean, it's, the stage is one of those where you've got the stage in front of you, and you've got a little walkway that comes out in the middle, and then there's a little bit of a walkway that goes kind of horizontally in front of the soundboard as well. And we were between that back part of the stage and the front part of the stage. So they literally were all around us.
Yes.
And the show, I remember from the last time, was just fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's one of those where you're like, this is Broadway level performance, really. And so we thoroughly enjoyed that. And then we're able to go to this little green gate, after the show. And somebody was right there to meet us and said, all right, come on back. And the entire cast is there. And we're meeting people and getting some quick shots and catching up a little bit. So that was really, really fun. And, obviously something that we didn't take for granted. This is very special.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. How amazing.
Yeah. Great way to start the day.
Yes.
Yeah. So then I had by this time, I'm like, we're buying the lightning lanes.
Yeah.
Right? Every morning, like whatever the highlight ride is, we're going to do it. And we're just going to buy the lightning lane. So we had gotten flight of passage for later in the afternoon. I got the safari. Again, it was one of those times where I had to keep checking back because it wasn't late enough for us to have the Nemo show and then lunch, which we had a reservation for. I had to wait for 1 o'clock or something to get those reservations booked. And so we walked right over to Yak and Yeti, which was a good experience for lunch as well. Love the inside of that place. It was really fun, very well themed. And the food was not our favorite of the trip, but it was good, and again, great with the allergies. And then we walked over to the safari, and I know, like I even knew when I was booking it, that middle of the day is not the best time for the safari. But in order to make everything else work, I didn't want to miss it.
Yeah.
You don't want to wait too long. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go ahead and just book it for like a 1:30, and we'll just see how it is. And it was fine. We saw some things and we took some pictures, but it wasn't what I remember it being when we went first thing in the morning the last time we went. So that's okay.
Yeah.
So, just learning curve there.
Yep.
Testing the theory, right?
Yeah. You're like, okay, theory's correct.
All the animals are in the shade somewhere, and you have to kind of squint. So we went on the gorilla trail, which was cool. And last time we were there, we didn't really do animals. I know, it's funny. Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
You're supposed to see the animals. Well, we didn't do that. We just did rides. And but this time, obviously, we wanted to show our son everything with the animals, and so we did that, and that was, those trails are well done. They're shady for the most part, and you've got, animals interspersed the whole way. And when you're looking at the map, you only see a few little animal icons along the way, and so you're wondering, is it actually that worth it to go on the trail? And yes, it is worth it to go on the trail.
Yes.
There's a lot to see, and you're going in and out of a reptile house or an aviary or, different spots along the trail. They do it really well. We did San Diego Zoo back in the spring, and there's some similarities between, what Animal Kingdom is doing with how you view the animals and what San Diego does. So
that's interesting.
It's there, I think.
Yeah.
Good. So there's this, my wife was enthralled by this little yellow weaver, I think is what it was called, golden weaver birds, and the way that they make their nests upside down so the predators can't see them from the top.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and they build themselves a little shelf, and the wife, the female bird, the males build it, the female bird comes in and checks it out, and if she doesn't like it, she goes away.
Oh,
and the
my
male's
gosh.
like, sit here, and has to try again, right? And if she does like it, she builds a little shelf, and she lays her eggs, and everything's good.
That is so cool.
Stuff. Just little stuff like that all along the way, right? And you can ask, there's always someone there. Always a cast member at every place to answer your questions.
And they're so knowledgeable.
Yeah. They're there for a reason,
yes.
right? Because they know what they're talking about. And that was really cool. So walk through there, and then it was time for Pandora. So we went that direction, and Animal Kingdom, for whatever reason, didn't feel like a huge park. I know it is pretty big.
It's the biggest.
But I know the acreage.
Yeah.
The safaris themselves are just massive, right? But you're not walking necessarily that much acreage.
Yeah, and I feel like too, it's the way that it is. It doesn't feel like a theme park. It almost just feels like you're in those places. And so I agree. Like when we walk around Animal Kingdom, I know it's huge, but it doesn't feel huge.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
And there's so much just to see, and it feels natural. You're constantly around trees and animals, and so there's that kind of sense of, almost like you're on a hike. Not really, but I think that probably adds to it.
I think so too.
You're seeing so much beauty around you. You're appreciating everything you're seeing, rather than Magic Kingdom where it's food cart or
rides, fake buildings and stuff like that.
Exactly, lines. So we really liked the feel of the park a lot, and it made it to where we felt like we could be there in the heat of the day, and it wasn't killing us. Yeah. It wasn't as hot that day, but it was still pretty warm. We were able to do pretty well. Energy-wise, thankfully. Flight of Passage, again, just blown away and going, how in the world come up with this?
I know.
Just really, really well done. And, so Rise and Flight of Passage, I would say, are most definitely worth spending that money to skip those lines, and the experience feels like it's worth it. Yeah. Seven Dwarfs, questionable, right? Those are the three that we did. So.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So we went to get some frozen lemonade after that. We ate it under the Tree of Life, which was really fun. Yeah. Nobody's there on a crowded day, and, the bug thing is happening inside the tree, but there's really not a whole lot of traffic there. So we were in the shade and looking at all the animals and carved in the tree. And my son saw a snake and freaked out because he's a reptile fanatic. And this picture taken with the snake and so forth. So just had a nice little break there before Expedition Everest. We had booked Meet Mickey and Minnie over there at the place, and we decided to skip that just because we needed a break, So we made a little executive decision there to just cancel and move on. And then Everest was really, really fun. Everybody loved it. Again, blown away by my 8-year-old, going backwards in the dark and not freaking out. I'm like, what? Yeah. I'm freaking out a little bit. And you're just like looking around like, this is cool. Wow. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was really great. So we love that. And then one of the cast members of Finding Nemo told us about the animation experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd seen it, but I didn't know much about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, that might be fun. But he kind of solidified it for us that you need to go out there and do this. This is really cool. So and that's where a lot of the reptiles were as well, snakes and so forth. So we decided to get on the train at that point and head over to Rafiki's conservation station. And we were just in time for the last class of the day at 4:45. So we kind of ran in there and got into the class, and we drew Bruce the shark. So we have all 5 of our little, Bruce drawings. My wife's is by far and away the best. And so that was really cool and fun to be following the animator all the way through that process. And, its setup is really easy to follow along, and it's well done. So that was fun. But the downer was when we came out, they had closed everything else.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so my son didn't get to see the snakes. And that was just, his heart just...
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's something that happens, and, most people are not sad to not see snakes, but my son is very, very sad to not see snakes. So then, we're kind of in mind, okay, they close things at Animal Kingdom. They close them early, before the park is closed. So, all right, what else is going to close? So I start looking, and the Maharaja Trail, the Asian one, was also closing in about 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, we got to make it over there before we do that. All the while, I'm making reservations here and there. I got Dinosaur for a little bit later. We weren't going to miss that one for my son. And we loved the Jungle Trek, that one. I mean, of the two, the sheer effort that they put into making that environment where you're walking through the ruins of a temple, just really, really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And the feel of it is, a top-notch kind of experience for something like that. So got to see some tigers and so forth, and some monkeys back there. And so that was good. And it was the cool of the day, too. So
that's so nice.
Experience. We're all kind of getting hungry at this point, but we have the dinosaur reservation. So I'm like, all right, let's go ahead and do dinosaur, and then we'll look for something to eat. Mistake. At Animal Kingdom, if it's getting late in the day, eat. Because they close their food. And I had no idea. No idea.
Yep.
So we went on Dinosaur, which for me it was not amazing. It's kind of an older ride. It's like the older attempt at something high tech, and you can kind of tell.
Yep.
It reminds me of maybe E.T. at Universal.
Yeah, it is like E.T.
Similarities there. But it was really fun for my son who loves dinosaurs, animatronics, and so forth. It was not scary.
Yeah.
Some people say it's really scary. I don't think it's scary. But especially for a kid who's used to watching dinosaur shows. And then we came out and we're looking for food and realized that all the stuff was closed. There were 2 places open in the entire park. So we're like, for an allergy kid, I'm going, oh boy, this could be bad. But we found Flame Tree Barbecue. It wasn't too far away, and they did have some options for him, so we were relieved about that. But because it was the only place open, it was a long wait. Food was coming out late. I just don't understand why they don't keep more places open. That was one of the question marks for me. So that was, pretty good experience as far as where we ate was cool, down by the water.
Yeah.
And it was also good food, but it wasn't the greatest experience from a waiting standpoint. And
I wonder if they're closing places early. First of all, Animal Kingdom, a lot of people don't stay in the evening, but I wonder if it's staffing.
It could be.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen at the other parks.
I think they prioritize.
Oh, maybe it does. Maybe it does. Maybe, and they might.
Yeah, I don't know.
Also close things at other parks too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I know the staffing thing has been an issue for a while. it didn't feel like that was a problem.
Yeah.
Like I didn't notice that, where
Mm-hmm.
at times, you're in a restaurant and there's all this space and you're wondering why you can't get a reservation. Oh, it's
Right.
staffing. Didn't feel like that when we were there this time.
Yeah.
So I think they're hopefully getting back up to speed. But then we were just like, this is our last night. We saw the tree just for a minute, lit up, which was cool, and took a picture or two. But then headed out, and we're like, okay, we're going to go see the fireworks at Magic Kingdom because we haven't seen them yet.
Mm-hmm.
Fine, everybody's staying up, and we're just going to pay for it later, right?
Yeah.
So we get on the bus to Magic Kingdom from Animal Kingdom, which there are those inter-park buses, right, that run after 1:30, I think, because park hoppers have
Mm-hmm.
And they close the doors, and my wife is texting the mom of that friend that we met earlier in the week, and the friend goes, you can only see the fireworks if you're a Halloween party person tonight. It closed at 6. And we're on the bus, and the door closed, and we start going, and we're like, wait! Screaming. We gotta get off. And she was like, okay, all right, fine. So she opened the door, and we got off, and we're like, that would have been such a waste of time to get over there and be turned around and have to take the bus somewhere else. So we decided to do Epcot and do Harmonious one more time.
Mm-hmm.
Found a really good spot down where we ate at Yorkshire Fish Shop. And just past that, there's a few more tables and a little rail area right next to the lake, and there were not people there. And literally, it was like 10 minutes before the show, and we were able to just walk right up. So that was a really good spot. You could see everything on the water really well.
Mm-hmm.
So we loved that and enjoyed it very much. That's our last night, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So got home, and because my son wasn't able to do Hollywood Studios like the rest of us were, and the Mickey Minnie ride and all that, we had a flight at 7 o'clock at night on that Saturday. And so we had all day. We were able to leave our bags with Bell Services. I was able to book things, really close together, 3 different rides right in the afternoon where we could just eat lunch next to the lake at the hotel after we checked out. And then Skyline over to Hollywood Studios and do Slinky and Mickey and Minnie Railway and Toy Story Mania. And I think we saw the Frozen show again because we wanted my wife to experience that. She missed that before, and Colton. And all of that was, we were definitely tired.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where we're just like, we're good. We're just going to do it and have our last little bit of fun here. And it was. We really, really had a good time for just a few hours.
Yeah.
We had to get back to the hotel and catch the Uber.
Did he love those rides?
He did, yeah. And he could, with the Mickey and Minnie's especially, he was able to name the episodes, Oh, it's that one. He's talking to his sister.
Oh, that's so fun.
They're sharing that experience together.
Yeah,
and that's really
love
good
it.
too.
That's cute.
But one thing I wanted to say that I think I learned on this trip is getting input from everybody is really important. So I pretty much went full steam ahead planning the trip on my own because I knew I was the one who was, interested in doing that and had some time to do that or whatever. But when we got there and we had that first day and I'm kind of running the show, it became pretty apparent that it really makes sense to be like, okay, here are the options for lightning lanes tomorrow.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? When it's time to make another reservation during the day, here's what we can do. What do you guys think? Who wants to do this? What's important to you? What sounds interesting to you? And then everybody feels included and like they know what's going on. So for us planners out there, it's important to include the rest of the family. Can't
Yeah.
be too bravado.
I think that's really good advice too, because I am the planner in my family. And yeah, sometimes my kids would be like, I don't want to do that. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh, I just assumed you would, but
I
they
know.
actually don't want to. And I was like,
Right.
oh, I should probably ask them. They're old enough now. They can tell me what they want to do.
Yep, exactly. Water rides for my son. It's like, oh, wow, really?
Yeah,
Okay, won't do those.
that's
No
really
more
good.
Collie River Rapids on the plan, So, yeah.
I'm glad y'all didn't do that ride. That ride's awful. You get soaking wet.
I know. We've done the raft rides before
Oh,
elsewhere. So yeah, we were. It was a skippable.
yeah.
Sure.
Unless you have a poncho, then you're safe.
Right. Well, sort of.
Sort of, yeah. Your feet
Yeah,
will get all
if
wet.
they're long enough, right?
Yeah.
The seats get awful wet. Yeah.
Well, I loved hearing your travel tale. I think there's so much important information in it. I'm really glad you reached out to be on the show because, yeah,
Sure.
I think it's a good one.
Yeah. Well, it was really fun to relive it.
Yeah.
It's really looking forward to doing that, and I've appreciated the show and all of the tips that I've been able to glean from other people's stories going in. Has been very helpful. Was very helpful to kind of get everything ready for this one. So I appreciate the show itself. It's great.
Thank you. So
Yep.
I have to ask you what I ask everyone. What was your
Okay.
least magical moment?
It was getting off of Rise and having to decide to send my son back to the hotel. And it was really Kelly's call. We knew it was probably what we needed to do, but it was so hard to make that decision. And she was just like, I think I'm going to take him back, And so, okay, that's probably the right move.
Yeah.
Definitely, that was where it was like, big letdown to not be together and experience all that together that day.
For sure. So what was your most magical moment?
There were many. And I would say the most magical for everyone. That's the thing. Everyone's most magical. I think I'm going to say, they might not agree with this, but getting there the first night, getting on the patio, looking over, and we're like, fireworks! That was just like, whoa! And you got the anticipation is still full blown at that point.
Right.
Everybody's looking forward to going to the parks the next day. And so that kind of doing that all together over dinner on the patio was a really cool experience. Yeah.
That's so great. I love that. Great moments.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have anything else you want to say about your trip before we go?
I don't think so. I'm still blown away at the entire machine that is Disney. It's very, very impressive. And the thing that actually I kept repeating over and over was the people. Everyone you run into there, we had zero bad experiences with cast members. And it was a busy week. They've been dealing with people all the time, all day, all week. And so whatever training they do, it's just like blows my mind that they can continually, people feel like they're happy to work there. And that's the impression you have. So
Yeah, they're special.
Yeah, that's very, very impressive.
I hope you enjoyed Jeff's travel tale today. If you're wanting to plan your own Disney vacation, see the notes for a link on how I can help you. I am a travel agent with my favorite agency, Trolley Lane Travel, and all of my services are complimentary to my clients. I would love to help you get a Disney vacation on the calendar in 2023. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Disney Travel Tales. If you're new, go ahead and send me a message and say hi. I love connecting with my listeners. Next week, I will be back with a new guest. Well, she's actually not a new guest. Judy has been on before. She was on a few episodes ago talking about her Disneyland Paris trip, and she is back with us talking all about visiting the very first Very Merry Christmas party at Walt Disney World. So, until then, this is Jenny, and may all your Disney travel dreams become a reality.